Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. It makes it easier to decide who's your friend and who's your enemy when some make their own decisions and by their actions they prove on what side you should place them. We have here four countries that, through their decisions and actions, showed themselves as being Russia's enemies. I hope Russia will look at them in such a way. These four countries are four European countries which are not perfect, and they're not perfect, and I think they're hypocritical because all of them, all these four countries which are in Europe, they profess this love for inclusivity, inclusion, diversity, European values. Remember, now there are European values. Be friends with everybody. They're all four Christian countries. Again, you should forgive and forget your neighbor's how should I put it, mistakes or errors. You should love your neighbor. You should love your enemy. Turn the other cheek. All these things that should be applied, they're not. So let me show you how these four countries, I hope, proved to Russia, if it was necessary, that they are Russia's enemies. Why? Because they sanction people who are not guilty of anything that these guys try to claim they are. Because if they are, then others are also guilty of the same crimes or intransigences. Because nobody is perfect. So let me show you these countries here. We have this article from Ukrainska Pravda, and it says the four European countries to boycott UEFA competitions where Russian teams participate. So you might think that those four countries are perfect, therefore they don't want to interact with people less than them, it seems like, since they don't want to tangle with other people. That is a very, very bad lack of value, let's put it this way, because it seems like they consider themselves superior to the Russians, therefore they don't want to be around Russians. Maybe they are people who should not be discussed, talked, interacted with. Well, I know some ideologies in the 1920s, 1930s and early 1940s, they were pushing this kind of separation. And I know some from across Atlantic who had the same ideology in the Jim Crows, separate but, So let's look and see what's going on here. So England, these are the perfect countries. England, Poland, Latvia and Sweden will boycott the UEFA competitions involving Russian teams, which were previously admitted to the under-17 category. So these teams will play soccer, football, and these are children. They are under 17, so they're children. So the adults consider that their children should not play in the competition, not against this, in the competition when other children are playing. But hey, they love children very much, and they cry about Putin, that Putin, snatched all those Ukrainian children. They care so much, but somehow they care for some children, but not for other children. So that tells me these guys have no value, no values, and these guys have no principles. You can't be, picking and choosing, situational. So it seems like they don't care about the Russian children. Now, let me think about it. Should they be, why would they not play where the Russian children play? I cut straight the chase here. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, it's about children playing soccer against children. You don't want your children to play with those ones because why? What exactly is the problem? Is their country? Okay, so their country did something bad, and somehow they, by collective punishment, a precept from the Old Testament, the Judaic good book, by that definition, they are guilty. Therefore, they should not be interacted with. Correct? Correct. You punish children for something that they have no control of, unless they're just gonna come out and denounce their parents. Is that what you want? Denounce their parents? So, and if you punish them, why do you punish them? For supporting their country? their criminal leader? Well, if it's so, then I guess the English should not be so happy about their history, and we should not forget what happened in Iraq. That means that the children of English adults then should be just pushed aside because their countries bombarded, let's say, Yugoslavia and killed over their people. Therefore, it was a war crime. Or are they doing the same thing with the Americans after they dropped the atomic bombs to two of them? Was the public guilty? Were the children guilty for the actions of the government? If yes, then please denounce that too. And none of these countries, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't have blood on their hand a little bit, including Sweden. But hey, you want to take Sweden out? Okay, Sweden, I would like to hear you doing the same thing to the Americans and the English. For instance, Second World War, for instance, if you want Vietnam, if you want Gulf War, if you want Yugoslavia, if you want Libya. So I want to hear you, Sweden. You're so virtuous. You're not. And Latvia, again, they feel so pure and with no sins. And remember, and they care so much for children. Who do you think is going to be hurt by that? If you don't let those children under 17 play. Putin? You're going to hurt Putin? Who are you going to hurt? Or you try to have what? Hurt about 22 people? Because 22 children, I think, they're in a team. That's 11 plus, I think, 11. The whole team is it's 22 people, I think. So you're going to hurt 22 people. You think that those 22 people will topple their government in the future and like you for that? Or they will never forget you for doing that to them. Participate in the competitions. Are you crazy? You deal with children. Again, so I would like to, let me show you here. The Times is referring to a statement of the Football Association of England, the press service of the Football Federation of Latvia, and Swedish, and the other one is blah, 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 Lithuanian. On September 26th, UEFA relaxed sanctions against the Russian Federation, returning Russian teams in the under 17 age category to international competitions. The Ukrainian Football Association called on other European federations to boycott the competition. So again, the Ukrainians are crying that the Russians are taking their children, they're hurting their children. And what they do here? They don't care about any other children. They care about their children. Is that how we should think about? So that's why Russia should just designate all these countries as enemies. Not partners. No partners. Enemies. But hey, and a quote from the English Football Association. We do not support the position of readmitting Russia to UEFA age grade competitions. And our position remains that England teams won't play against Russia. Okay, but you boycott the whole UEFA competitions, not only Russia. But anyway, and then you have the Polish and Latvian and others. My point here is, I would say, twofold. These guys have no values. They have preferential, situational values. Oh, those are not values or principles. When you use them when you like it, and when it works against you, you don't like that principle anymore. There's the first one. They don't have principles. They hurt the children. And the second one would be Russia should designate these countries clearly as enemies. Clearly, not, as I said, partners or no, enemies. You're not my friend doing that. You are not. So I hope Russia is going to use the correct term to name the behavior. Thank you very much for being with me again today. We used to condemn people and organizations that were not including other countries or other people, other groups based on their religion, creed, the same thing, political inclination, sexual orientation, race, gender, national origin. We used to say, hey, that's not fair. All of a sudden, it is fair? How is that possible? Well, that's why I can't support these guys. I can't, because they are garbage doing this. That's what they are. How do you want me to say they're great? The only persons that are hurting are the children. Right? Not Putin, not their parents, and their parents would hate you more. Do you think they're going to be what? Going and toppling the government, as the Americans did in the Second World War, toppled Truman's government because they dropped 2 atomic bombs? Do you think that's what's going to be? Or the English toppled their government because of what they did in Yugoslavia or Iraq or Afghanistan or in Libya? No, they will not. Anyway, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.